Ready whenever you are.
Hi, everybody.
Hi there.
Hi, Stacy.
Okay, community preservation meeting on June 22nd, 2002, call to order at 6:32 p.m. Like to note that our meeting is being recorded. All attendees are muted upon entry. If you have questions or comments, you can put them into the chat to be addressed. Okay, so going through that, first thing on the agenda is, let me just jump back to my agenda here. Okay, chair's announcements. The chair has no announcements right now. Next, citizens open forum. If any of the attendees would like to comment on anything. Okay, hearing. Oh, what was that? Was somebody commenting that I interrupted?
I didn't hear anyone, and we do now have Kevin on board here.
Oh, okay, good. Are you getting feedback from me? Maybe that's what I'm hearing.
Could be me.
Okay. Okay, moving on, the minutes of May 25th. That Josh had sent out last week.
Motion to approve the minutes as written.
Second.
And any discussion?
No,
Okay, hearing none. Josh, roll call.
Gina,
Yes.
Carlton,
Yes.
Harry,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Stacy,
yes,
Kevin.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Okay, great. Thank you. Next is the financial reports as of May 31st. And I just want to note that it still shows on that report that, and forgive me, I can't remember the name of the account, but moving it to undesignated that we had voted a while ago, that has been taken care of. It was taken care of at the very start of June, so it doesn't reflect in the report you're seeing there, but the funds have been moved. I just
Are you
needed
speaking?
to
Are you
provide-
speaking? Are you speaking of the fund balance designated for special purposes?
Yes,
And
that's
so
it.
that has been now combined with undesignated fund balance.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, it doesn't show that it was done after that report was run, but it has been moved.
I don't have any comments or questions on it. I see that we have we've had significant more income on the real estate surcharge and also the state match. Together had over $260,000 of funds that we had not anticipated last year. So that's great news.
It is, and when Laurie Guarini from the town accountant's office sent me who sends me the financials, she also noted that she'll keep us posted, but it looks like the match for November will be about 35%. But she'll keep us posted on that when they get the funds.
Yeah, that's consistent with what I've seen DOR put out.
Right.
That's great.
Okay, good. Okay, we don't need a motion for that. Any other questions on the finance reports? Okay, hearing none. And I don't know what just happened to my agenda. It just ran away. Hold on a second. That's strange. It just disappeared. Okay. Moving on to, if I can remember right, because my agenda just disappeared. I was looking at it online. Old business, and if somebody has the agenda in front of them, just tell me if I'm wrong. Um, just looking
First-
for
The first
update.
property is Summer Street. The first thing is Summer Street
What is-
Mobile Station.
Okay, Summer Street Mobile Station. Thank you, Carlton. For some reason, it's reloading here.
And it's an application that has been received and just recently updated.
Okay, we have our amended application for that Josh sent out in the packet yesterday, which contains the appraisal at the end of it. It also is a higher amount than what the original application was. The original application, I believe, was 460,000. This one's 485,000, which might be the change in reference, in considering the appraisal. I do have questions to the town manager. He was planning to be here tonight, but had to go to another meeting. But I do have a question into him on it. Let me just read you, I asked him for updates. Let me read you his update first. Okay, he said there's a letter missing, Josh, from Matt, but I see that there is a letter from Matt, so I'm not sure if it's the one he's talking about. He
Who's
said he's
Matt?
not
Who's Matt?
Matt Rushton.
Thank you. Yes,
Right.
that letter's in there.
It is. He had said that he thought that the letter was missing, but I do see a letter from Matt. If that's the one he's talking about, Matt Rushton. And he said, I don't know if this is the town manager. I don't know that it's terribly relevant as the council voted to move forward with the project in the first place. Otherwise, it's good to go. If you need any additional info, let me know. The immediate plan after the taking would be to clean it up, properly secure the building, complete the survey, get BSU on board, and get Melissa Desjardins working on the plan. Melissa, for those of you that don't know, is our landscaping architect who used to be chair of this committee. Couple things that I saw, and Carlton can probably elaborate if anybody else has thoughts. I'm confused on the amount, and I've asked Michael, I responded to him, but I haven't heard back. He's probably had already gone to his other meeting. The town council voted, I believe it was $245,000. Correct me if I'm wrong for amounts, for this project, for the taking of the Oval Station property. The application is for 460,000, 485,000, I'm sorry.
95, 495.
495, I'm sorry. So my question is one of my questions is what part does the funds approved by the town council play in this? Because the application shows 100% of the cost will be CPA with no additional funding. So that's part of my question to the town manager. Also, as we've stated before in this meeting and clarified it with the town manager's office, CPA funds cannot be used for the building. And if you know, the old gas station is still on that property. CPA funds cannot be used for the building, the property, the whole property, including the building, unless the building's to be raised, which isn't the plan. The plan, as far as we know, it is to keep the building. So I've asked Michael where that plays into it too. So the- another thought was who's going to maintain it? In the future, when the park is built, he says the town, which is fine. It would be the town. Just wondering, putting on my Parks and Recreation hat now, because Parks and Rec been notified of it. And has open space or Parks and Rec been asked for letters of support to put a park there. So those are all questions that I had for Michael. Carlton or anybody, did you have anything else to add?
I have more to add, but I'd like to hear if anybody else has had thoughts.
I do have a thought on this. I have a little bit of a construction background. My husband, ex-husband is in excavation, and my question is, has there been any engineering done as far as the tanks underground?
Yes.
It has been. Okay,
Right.
that was probably before I came in. And how is that being funded?
That was,
I can explain. The appraisal, that's a 50-page appraisal. And I went through it relatively rapidly today, and they talk about the fact that there's no contamination on site that the appraiser could see. He's not an expert on it, but also it's documented that the tanks were removed. That's law. Once you shut down a gas station, you must remove them. So that's been done already for the appraisal.
Okay, great.
Other thoughts? Okay, so Gina touched on one. I think one of the problems I have is maintenance will fall on somebody, and maintenance will likely fall on the Parks and Rec Commission and the superintendent, et cetera. But there's no letter of support for this taking for a park from the Parks and Rec Commission, and I think that's a huge oversight. That's number one. Number two was there's no guarantee for maintenance budgets. We understand that. That's something that, depending on town income, it's there or not there. But there have been a number of promises made prior to the CPA funds for especially the memorial building to have a maintenance plan in place. As you've heard before, we're still waiting for that maintenance plan. It's been over 18 months, and all we get is we're working on it, we're working on it, we're working on it. And I will do a sidebar here on, we're not looking for a SOP, standard operating procedure level that describes how you maintain each piece of equipment. I think we're looking for is we will survey all the equipment for the serviceability on an annual, month, seasonally, whatever thing. And we will clean the outside of the building once every 3 years. That's the level I think we want to have that. But to the current, so that's my concerns there. But in terms of this project, there's not really enough specificity at the level of once this is a park, we will look at it for safety purposes once every 6 months or 3 months. We will also look at the building equipment every season to make sure it's operating correctly, that the roof's not leaking, the bathrooms work, that kind of thing. So that's the level I'm thinking about, and that's not in this application. And so I think it's incomplete. And the last thing was Gina talked about it. The town council did pass $245,000 of capital funding for the fall period, and the application is silent on that. So what I do to do some other numbers in the appraisal on page 10 of 50, it says that the land is valued at $207,200. That's the taxable value. And then the building itself is $200,000. So that property is appraised at $407,200, and that generates about $5.8 thousand per year. So the town manager asked for $495,000, and the pending clarification of how much of that money that the town council set aside would go towards this project in reality. I think it'd be 245. So simple math, 495 minus 245, it would mean that we would come up with 250,000. He's asking for 495. I think probably we can do more than that, but I'm unwilling at this point to vote yes on this application until we have clarification on the points I've made already, and also how the town plans to use that capital money that's been approved by town council. I'm willing to go up to 300,000 of CPA money to acquire the land, but not the building. So that's my 20 cents worth. Oh, by the way, the appraisal was I'll get it out. $488,100. It's the best and best and highest use is for commercial property, and that was appraised at 488, 110. And the value, I think, of the land as is $295,000. So the happy medium appears to be somewhere around 488 plus closing costs. That comes to the 495. Anyway, I'll stop there and see what other people think. But I think we need to get. My personal opinion is we need more answers to questions before we vote on this.
I
Okay.
agree.
Thank you, Stacy and Carlton. Any other thoughts on that?
Can I just ask a question under, I guess it's due process, where I'm still new to this
Mhm.
board and how things get run. So this is supposedly the second time that this application has been presented to us. I expressed to Josh earlier that I wish I could get these a little bit sooner than the day before one of our meetings, because I just don't have time to review this between working a full-time job and other things and reading, 100 some odd pages. And I keep hearing that Mr. Dutton is supposed to be coming to present this. Shouldn't we really be waiting for him to present this and then pose all these questions to him?
Yes.
On what we're asking, and let him get back to us before we even take any type of vote whatsoever?
Yes.
Right. I agree, Steve. As far as getting it out, and we try to get it out as early as we can.
Yeah.
It was sent out on Friday. Josh sent it out, I believe, Friday morning. To be honest, I wasn't aware it was an amended application. You're right. I stand corrected. The application wasn't attached. I didn't ask him to attach it, thinking
Yep.
it was attached. It was so long that it was attached to the last month's agenda. Then thinking about it, and I needed to have him do a amended packet. So I asked him to put it in just to make it easier for people. And that's when I realized that it was an amended application, and not just the appraisal added on. So my apologies that it just gets sent out. As I said, it was my thought not to resend it because
No,
it was just the file was just so big. But
Right.
I
Don't get me wrong,
agree.
Gina. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm just trying to make things
I'm pointing
easy.
fingers at myself for that one.
But I'm not a finger pointing person. I just
To help with this.
the more time we have to review things, the better off we are. Because
Correct.
to be honest with you, with not having a chance to read this, I'm not really comfortable voting on any type of funds. And I'm still waiting, because I've sat 2 months already, and I'm still waiting for Mr. Dutton to give us a presentation on this whole project.
Correct. I agree. That's why I concur with what Carlton said. Until we get answers specifically on the money, I think we should
Right.
hold off on a vote.
Yeah, and Steve, to go to your point, I agree, and I think Gina and I got the agenda done a week late. Gina, we need to set a policy that we would develop the agenda at least 2 weeks and get it to
Right,
Josh,
but
and then he can get it out. So
Right.
I'll
We've
add that
done
to
it.
I'll add that to the policies and procedures document.
Okay, we did it in the same time span we usually do. It's just that last month and this month. We just had such huge
Yeah,
files to read.
we just need to get it out, out earlier. And the other thing I think, since this is an open discussion, is that I think if we get an application in or a document in, we need to send it to the committee the day after we receive it, so that they have time, even though it's not formally in the agenda yet, it's a packet, and we can send that to everybody. We just can't discuss it until we get
Correct.
into public meeting.
Mhm.
That would be two suggestions I have. As to presentation, Steve, we're a little bit different than maybe the planning board is that when we receive an application, we are allowed to discuss it even though the proponent is not necessarily there. That's one way we can raise questions and get it back to them. So I think that's what I'm trying to do today. Is I had
Yeah.
sent a list of questions previously to Josh, I think, but I think it's totally legitimate for us to bring this up, find out if there's any holes, and then send back a request for updates from the town manager. I agree that we need him to come and present because not all of us have heard. Some of us have been around long enough to know what's going on, but I think it's really good practice. Thank you.
Mhm. Any other thoughts? Harry, Kevin, anybody? CPC members?
Well, just to your point, I think it's a good idea that we get the information earlier, just so we can, I mean, we can't discuss it like Carlton was saying, of course. But I think just, with the CPC and how we function is, I think the real beauty is there's a lot of ping ponging back and forth because there's a lot of this stuff is still a work in progress because they're requesting funds from us, and there's a lot of things that are not complete as far as maintenance, for an example, for this project. But there's a lot of back and forth, so it is different than the planning council or the planning board, excuse me. But I think I think that's kind of the beauty of it. But it would be nice. I think that would be a big productivity boost if we had that. Once we get the information, we send it to all the members so we can at least review it in our own time before we discuss it when we commence the meeting, of course.
Mhm. Thanks. Any thoughts on this application, the discussion we've had pertaining
I agree.
specifically to the application?
I agree with Carlton. I think the maintenance plan is lacking. There needs to be more of a strategy and a plan to how to maintain the building after it's approved for construction. And because I didn't see that either. I didn't see that much detail about that.
Right, it just said it would be maintained by the town, but I was just looking for more info for that.
More specifics. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay, Harry, any thoughts?
Going back to your question about the building, think about the academy building. You can strip that building right down to its four walls and redo everything, just like they did with the academy building, but it already has bathrooms. So
Mhm.
depending on what the public use is gonna be, it's just gonna be the inside work. So I just wanted to
Right,
clarify that.
Yeah, the thing with that too, that's a good point for that. But CPA funds cannot be used to purchase a building. So that's why we needed to have,
Correction, open space. Cannot be used under open space, which this application is under.
okay,
To acquire a
you.
building.
Thank you
At
for
least
the
that's what we've been told.
thank you.
I mean, would we ever want to just vote on a partial just to acquire the land, just like Carlton?
I think we need the more information from the town manager. So I'm going to suggest that we move the discussion to the next point in hopes that the town manager will be able to answer the questions and attend our July meeting.
Great, I agree because as I started the discussion with, I'm not clear if what he's asking in the application should be reduced based on what the council vote already, so I'm not clear on that. So I would like to see an answer from Mr. Dutton before we take any action on if we approve or don't approve the application. or recommend.
I will also note that appraisals are generally good for a set period of time, maybe 90 days. So we've got a little bit of time, but not a lot of time to move on this. And he didn't indicate the time frame that they're under right now. The appraisal was submitted June, don't quote me, around June 10th or 15th this month. So it's a brand new appraisal. So it probably is good for another several weeks, maybe months.
Okay, good, thank you. Um, do we need a motion to wait till next month or just declare that we're gonna hold off making a decision?
I think we can do it by consensus that we want to, under Robert's Rule of Order, we can have a consensus that we want more information.
Okay, is everybody in agreement with that?
As long as the appraisal is the same by next month for the July. You know,
Right,
our-
that's not gonna change.
Yeah, so that's fine with me.
Okay, good.
Um,
Okay. Looks good. So we'll do that. We're hopefully we can pinpoint the town manager for our July meeting. Josh, you get to lasso him to make sure he's here.
Okay, will do.
And don't give him any other meetings to go to at the same time. Okay, moving on to the next application received is the Central Square Congregational Church. There's no update on that. As we said before, for the application for phases 2 and 3, we're not going to act on until the deed restriction is in place, which we'll hit on further down in the application, or the agenda. But so basically, no update for that. Next we have, no, I don't know what.
Application recommended to the town council, library, and then Styles and Hart.
Yep, okay, good, thank you. Both of those were approved unanimously by the town council last night. Styles and Hart and the library, when it was presented to the town council, it was for the library. Excuse me, it was presented as one order for the full amount, not broken down as we did into two motions. Carlton did at the last council meeting 2 weeks ago at the first reading, pointed out that it should be two. When it was presented last night, Michael Dutton did explain to the council that we did it as two motions and they put it as one. So they voted on it the way it was presented to them, with the added to it that our minutes, which we had provided as backup, our minutes would be attached to the council's minutes to show what the total amount actually included, that we had broken it into two motions. So that was good. We got two big applications all out of the way. I shouldn't say out of the way, voted on. We just need to do the award letter between us and the town, and they should be set to go on both of those. Any
Do we know
discussion?
how long do we have until, I think council orders take full effect 30 days after the order. But we should get the award letters sooner rather than later, because I know the library chomping to get moving.
Okay, good, thank you. Any other discussion on those two? Great, I'm looking forward to both of them happening. I think they're both two great projects. Eligibility forms received. We just have one before us that you got the amended packet, plus you got it for the May packet. The only difference is now it has a letter from the Department of Housing and Community Development. I'm still at a loss for that. On a decision from my thoughts. The previous letter that we had from the Department of Housing was very specific that generators were not allowed with CPC, CPA funds. However, there is a new letter that Stacy and the Housing Authority Director forwarded to us that was in your packet, stating, reversing their other decision from a number of years ago and saying that generators are eligible. However, I guess my question for that is, are they saying that based on what the Department of Revenue says? What are the Department of Revenue's thoughts? Unless they're working with the DOR, it's like, what would the DOR, Department of Revenue, state differently? I know a number of, if you look at the coalition's website, there's been a number of projects that have been approved. But one thing to note, because it was put on there, and this comes from the director of the coalition, CPA coalition for the state. Because it's on there, that information is put on, not by the coalition. That information is put on by the individual towns, like Bridgewater updates the state and the coalition yearly with all our projects. Those projects being on there doesn't specifically mean that they were actually funded. So I guess my point is not knowing what the Department of Revenue would rule on it, because they're the ultimate deciding factor. If something gets approved and it shouldn't have been. Plus, we just got, Carlton reached out to Stuart Saginaw, who's the head of the coalition, about that. And Stuart did answer right before I hooked into the meeting.
I can update you on that because he and I had a conversation also.
Okay.
Yes, basically, to go back, there was a decision, and it's documented in the email that he sent, and I am going to add this email. I'm going to send it to Josh so we can add it to the minutes so it's very clear where we're at and coming from. Back in 2012, the State Housing Authority, lawyers, and CP Coalition, and a lot of people talked, and apparently worked for over a year to come up with a memo that basically states they are not, generators are not eligible for housing authorities for CPA money. Hence, the memo that came out was sent to us is not the official standing of the CPC, CPA, or any other body. In this, the only standing memo that's in place is that they're not eligible. I'm advised that DOR probably would not respond to us, but we could write a letter, ask them specifically for a written response to see if it's eligible. But going forward right now, he's pointed out that on the application in front of you tonight, the generator for existing affordable housing, and I'm quoting, is clearly in the rehabilitation box of the housing category for CPA. And as the DHCD 2012 letter points out, you cannot rehabilitate affordable housing unless it has been built with CPA funds. So that's the first hurdle. we couldn't come back and provide a new generator system unless we had actually funded the buildings itself. The other point that he makes is the affordable housing is for housing. It's not for comfort necessarily, et cetera. It's for housing. And he goes into a number of things in terms of read the definition of rehabilitation. It's clear that a generator belongs in the category basically not available. And he says clearly spelled out in the 2012 DHCD letter, and he adds the link. What it says is still true, that in general, work that protects the housing structure, not residents in parentheses, from future injury, harm, or destruction is permitted under CPA. So that's a bit of a clarification. The prime purpose of preservation work has to be protection of housing structure, from injury, harm, or destruction. Most generators are for the comfort and safety of residents in a power outage, with only a small ancillary benefit for protecting the building from harm, pipes freezing, example. Even DHCD's recent letter admits that the primary purpose of the generator is to mitigate safety risks for the residents. And he goes on to say a generator is certainly an important part of the affordable housing building, but there are dozens of other things that are needed in existing affordable housing, as well as the maintenance staffing, programming, signage, handicapped accessibility, and lots more. Adding generators to the list of things that are needed but can't be funded by CPA. That's stuff that cannot be funded by CPA. After all, CPA is a modest funding source, and it wasn't intended to cover every possible housing expense. I will send that so it's in our record. Based on that and conversations, I do not believe this is eligible.
Stacy, I will also forward that letter to you that you can share with the director. So you have
Yes, thank you.
what you're welcome, what Calton just read.
I will note also that Stuart told me in our conversation today that the state legislature is about $7 billion in arrears in terms of affordable housing updates. So the reality is there is a pinch to get stuff done, but the onus and monkey is on the back of the legislature to properly fund the housing authorities at the state.
Okay, I guess it would just be a small part of it. I was thinking if the housing authority revised their eligibility form, and instead of referring to the comfort of the residents, say for the safety of the building, so it's not frozen pipes or whatever. But I still have doubts that it would
I
completely
think
fly.
a nice thought, and I appreciate the thinking, but I think the email that was sent to us from the coalition head today very clearly states it's not eligible. Based on that 2012 memo that was agreed to by all those organizations and lawyers, and therefore that is the document of onus. I will also, recalling our conversation, he said that he is going to reach out and do some more trainings. They had a 2019 training on this and reiterated in that training that they were not eligible. And it was 2 days of training for the state housing people. I think he's going to try to do another one because this is coming up a bit too much in terms of CPA. And I'll just leave it at that. There's a lot of, I just wanted to document the conversation, but there's an awful lot of questions around the eligibility. If we want to postpone the vote to the next meeting, so if we can get more information, that's fine with me.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to do that.
Right. That's what I was gonna say. We have two options. One, to vote that it's not eligible, or to postpone a vote and discuss it more and try to get more information in between. And that would be my choice, my option.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, how about the rest of you?
That sounds good to me.
Steve
Good for
Thurman,
me.
okay,
I'm good with that.
okay. Okay, good, thank you. Okay, so that's that. Thank you for that. Oh, I was thinking there was one other thing I was gonna say and it went out of my head as quickly as not. For our new members, Steve and Stacy, the coalition has run in the past what they call a boot camp. That explains to their whole CPA and CPC responsibilities, how things are handled. There are 3 different parts, what falls into them. It's a good review. I did it last year as a review and it's stuff I knew, but probably it was back in the back of my head somewhere. So it was a good refresher. I'll reach out to Stuart to see if they're doing it again. They offered it at a few different times, and as I said, it was helpful. It was meant for new folks. I watched it, and it was a great review too. So
think it
I
may
can
be
check on
online,
that
though. Is it not
and get back
online?
to you.
Is it not online?
I can actually, I don't think it was online, but they sent out the presentation and I should still have it, but that's a good point. I'll look back and if I have it, I'll forward it to both of you. I'll forward it
We
to the
can
whole
check, we'll
committee.
we'll check the coalition website and send out a link if it's up there.
Right. Okay. Next we have, let's see, I did that. Funded project updates, Central Square Congregational Church. PAL, the organization that's preparing the deed restriction on the property. And again, the state requires, the reason we're doing the deed restriction, the state requires any non-municipal grantee to prepare a deed restriction. Basically saying that nothing can be changed on the parts of the building of the property that are funded by community preservation funds. So just a quick update. That process is with PAL. They're, as I said, the organization preparing it. For Ginny, and I can't think of her last name, has sent the document back. She's the person working on it from PAL. Town council and the town manager have reviewed it. I just need to review it again close to myself. And talking quickly to the town attorney the other day, and this wasn't in writing, I just happened to run into him, we were talking about it, was I think there's a part in there about a plan, and he said that needs to be prepared by the church, not by the town. I have to look back to see exactly what type of plan they're talking about. I know Barbara Morey, who couldn't make the meeting tonight, also got a copy of it. I'm not sure Gordon or Terry if she had passed it on to either of you. We just have to look at it. The woman has suggested a phone call between the church and us, CPC, or the town, but where CPC is paying for it, it's CPC that's going to talk to her. And I'd like to do that. If not the end of this week, then the start of next week to try to get that finished up.
So I'm not,
Any
I don't
other-
understand, what you're asking. Are you asking for another meeting to actually look at the deed restriction, review it, or what? I don't know what you're asking for.
No, I'm just saying that I'd like to look at it again. I'm not sure what, I haven't had a chance since I ran into Attorney Rollins, but he said they're asking for a plan, and you might remember this, or.
No,
what
I
Terry-
understand that. I understand that. I don't know what you're looking for next week.
Oh, no, the woman had suggested the phone call, remember last week, but we wanted to wait for our attorney's response.
So that phone call would be between the town attorney, the church, and whoever they want to have involved, and then someone from the CPC, not the whole CPC.
Correct. I don't think the town attorney wants to be involved with it. He's put it back to us after his comments. But we can see if he can be in on the phone call as well too.
Okay. So that's a work in progress,
Correct.
advanced progress.
Right. And it will be completed at some point. I promise, for the church. Any other discussion on that? Okay. Let's see, funded project updates. Oops, I just did that one. Central Square Congregational Church pickleball courts. The pavilion is built. It looks good. The courts are getting good use a lot of the time. I had a thought that, and it goes along, and maybe this is my Parks and Rec department hat right now, but I think there should be a sign. The sign was put up for, like, funded by CPA funds and all that. That's right on the courts, but a lot of people, and this might not be a CPC thing, I happened to think of it when I was down today. If there's a sign at the end of this road that says pickleball courts, Bridgewater pickleball courts, and we can even put on that too, funded by CPA, and like all ages welcome, something like that. Because I think people seem to think that because it's built adjacent to the senior center, a lot of people think it's just for seniors. I don't know what's left for funds in that award. I don't know thoughts. I haven't passed this by Parks and Rec yet. It was just a thought I had to put another sign up. Thoughts on that?
According to the expense to budget actual, there's $14,847 in that account. I'm assuming most of that's used up by the pavilion.
Okay. If there is funds, is that something, it wasn't part of their original proposal for a
Who's
sign?
paying for it? Who's paying for it?
Well, that's my question. If there's, I'm looking for thoughts from the CPC. If there are funds left, could it be? Because
I
we
mean,
can pay
how
for
much,
signage.
how much do signs cost? It's probably not that expensive, I would imagine.
I'm not sure. I'd have to ask.
I think
No.
we can do, I think we can do signage out of our admin fund.
Okay.
Admin fund or undesignated, maybe.
No, admin fund covers that.
Right. Let me talk to Parks and Rec, to Jim Small, our superintendent, to see if he can get prices for a sign. It was just a
I would
thought.
suggest, Gina, I would suggest somewhat of a more permanent sign, like
Correct.
that's down at the on the fish weirs down in Middleborough. I think some kind of metal or something else. If he can come up with a series of signs that we could consider at our next meeting, that would be wonderful.
Okay, we do have a similar sign that's right on the pickleball courts, but you don't see it till you're at the pickleball courts. But I like the sign, like at the Oliver Herring run that you're referring to, that it's as soon as you drive in, it's right there. You see it right from the street.
Maybe you and he can
Okay.
work on it, and the commission can work on a design for the concept for the sign, and wherever you want to do it, and then the committee can deal with it next meeting.
Okay, sounds good. The next thing is, all right, any other thoughts on the pickleball courts? Okay, the next thing is the memorial building.
I can do that one if you wish.
Okay, I was just gonna read Michael's comments that he had responded to me for an update, and then you can add in. Okay, the maintenance schedule is a work in progress and will be completed once we have all the mechanical data, which is from his quote, we discussed that before, that we need more. Back to what Michael wrote. The project overall is progressing slowly due to supply chain issues. Unfortunately, that has affected the cost of the project as well. We're now looking at a September completion date. Unfortunately, the 2-year delay is going to cost us. So that was his update on the memorial building.
I can update you all. Anybody that's on Facebook, I posted a picture of the excavation for the ramp for the accessibility. Stairway's been laid. They've now excavated, and as of today, I have pictures of where they put the foundational cement in, and the rebar is in that area that they're going to build the ramp on. So that's the exterior part, and I haven't seen much down in the backside for the handicap parking area and that ramp. But the money we provided is specifically for the external accessibility, and they're making great progress on that. And I've been photo documenting it as much as I can.
Good, thank you. Any other discussion on the memorial building? The update? Okay. Okay, just looking to see if we still had quorum here. Okay, good. Next thing is the McElwain School. Michael's update for that this afternoon was no updates other than they are experiencing delays due to materials and labor shortages. So that's the only update on that.
They finished they're working on the basement at the moment. Yes.
I noticed that they're working on all aspects of the property, of the
Mhm.
new building, the interior, and I see a lot of great work on the exterior of the house that they're refurbishing.
Yes.
They've actually, during our walkthrough with them, they'd pointed out when they took off the vinyl siding, they had to remove some little, I don't know what, architects can help me, a little widget above the windows that stuck out. And I've noticed that they now have, and they said they would be replacing them, and I see that they have replaced those little accent points above the windows already.
Yeah, they were like sanding it and everything. They were doing the trim.
I don't know what they're doing, but it's white. I'm assuming it's been primed at the minimum.
Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, I saw that as well when I drove by.
Yeah, it looks like it's coming along. Okay, anything else on McElwain?
What exactly are they lacking with like supply chain? I'm not sure if we know. I'm just curious.
I don't know, Kevin, sorry. He just said supplies, supply chain and deliveries and worker shortage.
Just so you know, the whole construction industry right now is hurting getting materials, long lead items. Steel is really big, doors, door frames, waterproof materials, and labor. And there has been literally a 18 to 22% increase in cost in construction right now.
Yeah,
Wow.
inflation's biting hard, I'm sure.
You know, it's hurting.
Yeah.
And just so you know, flooring itself has gone up like 33%. So,
Wow.
and the cost of materials is just astronomical.
Wow, I guess I should have had my floor done last fall when I was thinking of it, and I'm just doing it. Not
Yeah.
even thinking of the kitchen floor right now, just a hall floor.
We're running into it all over the country. It's not just around here.
Moving
Yep.
on.
Yep. Okay, next is Anticipated projects that we've received the eligibility forms. The applications aren't received yet. Hanson's Farm is the first one there. And just to read Michael's comments on that. I had asked him, are we up to date with the timeline? He had proposed a timeline back a few months back. And I said, I understand that as of last week, the Hansons hadn't completed the survey. How does that affect the timeline? Do we need to have an updated one? And his response was to quote, yes, we need the survey prior to doing much else. The survey will define what the acreage is, what buildings will not be part of the restriction, and how public access will work. We have a rough draft, a very rough draft of a purchase and sale restriction, but we're waiting for the survey before we can go much further. So that's where that one stands. Any discussion or anything to add to that?
Gina, this is Eileen.
Hi,
Um,
Eileen.
I happened to be at the farm today and talked with David, and he said the surveyor was there and was either going to finish today or he expected he would be back tomorrow to finish.
Oh, great. Thank you. So that I'll let Michael know that we'll get that moved
One
along.
other thing I'd like to mention, I'm not sure this is the appropriate spot or not, but David mentioned, and I think Carlton, he's mentioned this to you as well, that the Hansons are interested in trying to acquire the slaughterhouse property.
Oh,
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, that as part of this whole deal, I mean, that, I guess he said it's widely known that the property is for sale, both that parcel on the corner with that eyesore of a house, and then the other parcel, which I guess is on the other side of the conservation land with the bigger white house. And that the Hansons are concerned that, of course, a developer is going to swoop in, and then that conservation land is going to be surrounded on either side, on both sides, by housing development. And he's just raising the option of, is there a chance for the town to try to purchase that and to make it I mean, it seems like it would be a great addition to the Hansons' open space, as well as the other farm. Remind me, I can't think of the name of it right now. The Murray Needs farm, to be able to acquire. I think it's only a total of maybe 13 acres or something. I think the parcel on the corner, I think he said, was 2 or 3 acres, and the other parcel maybe 10 or 12. I don't remember exactly. It's not huge. The Beston property, the actual slaughterhouse property, apparently has been on the market for $3 million, but that was set, that was an appraisal based on the ongoing business of the slaughterhouse, which I guess has been closed for a few years now. And so
yeah, it's probably an appraisal that looks at highest and best commercial use. I don't know what that's zoned out there.
yeah, I don't know what I asked David what it was zoned. He said residential, but surely the Beston, could the Beston slaughterhouse have been a residential zoning? Would that, doesn't make sense, would it?
It probably was grandfathered in. It could have been
Oh,
moved.
okay, all right. Well, David said it is residential, so.
Okay, Eileen, I'm confused. You said the Hansons were looking into purchasing that, then do they want to make it as part of the
You know,
restriction?
we didn't get that far. He said yes, that they are interested in purchasing the small parcel, the one on the corner.
The house.
Yeah, the house with I think the 3 acres and the pond.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't say that with respect to the parcel on the other side of the Murray Meads farm. And I think, I mean, he was raising it with me and I'm raising it with you, just as like, well, okay, if we want to explore this, where to start? how to go about it.
My
Okay,
thought,
go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
Carlton, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry to jump in here, but I think that we should have a one-on-one with the town manager uh, as to interest in acquiring that property. But um, since this is a public meeting, and I just think that we should work uh, independently for a little bit about what that might look like. And open space can actually really lead the effort.
Mhm. Okay,
Mhm.
It would be open space acquisition. And there are some positives to acquiring some of that property because you can have better access to the Murray Needs Farm. And there's other potential things to thinking about it.
right,
But that could become quite a recreational area. So,
yeah, exactly. And it really would undermine the value, I think, of the Murray Needs if on both sides it was put to development.
well, the Murray Needs cannot be developed.
No,
Other
I'm
than that
saying on
farm.
either side of it, on either
Oh,
side
yeah.
of Murray Needs, because
I-
that's what he's saying, that there's property that's for sale on both sides of Murray Needs now.
Oh, on both sides. Okay, I
Yeah.
misunderstood. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I think the action here may, and again, I don't mean to take over, but the action here is to have a conversation with the town
Okay,
manager.
all right, that sounds good. Thank you.
Mhm. Correct. I agree. Okay, moving on. The next is, where am I here? The senior center for the recreation area, trails and community gardens. Haven't received an application yet, but it would be for what we granted them so far was for their study, the design study.
Have they done that?
That's what I'll check with the Emily this week.
Was the
That
town
came from
notified that we voted? Was the town notified that we had been voted money for the design of it?
I believe so. I'll look back to double check, but I believe so. That,
Because we're running out of
okay,
time to spend that money.
right. And Emily Williams, the Elder Affairs Director who had submitted the application, had told us right from the start that it probably wouldn't be completed because they want to do public outreach and do surveys from folks. So it wouldn't be completed till estimated the end of the summer. But I'm not sure if they have work done so far that the person doing the study can provide us with a bill to this point. I'll check that with Emily. Even though we have the eligibility form for that, we actually didn't use it as a precursor to an application because we just voted the funds from our admin account. So as of right now, there would be no application until they move on to, or once the design is done, to see what they come back to us for. Like what part of the project exactly. But I will just double check with Emily how much has been done.
So we did not take a vote on the eligibility of the proposed project?
We did, and we said it was eligible, but we voted the study from the admin funds.
So they've been notified that it is an eligible project, but we're pending, their application needs to be updated. So
Right,
that
they
we know the
haven't
details.
done an application yet.
Okay,
Okay,
Thank you.
we had approved the study, which was what their eligibility form was for, but because we took it out of admin funds, we said they
Right,
didn't
right.
need the application right now. Okay, possible projects update. Purchase of the Broad Street property, which is part of the Stiles and Hart. I think, and Harry can correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's the lots near the Chinese restaurant. Is that right, Harry?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So is this part of the 1.3 million that the town council voted, or is it separate?
This is separate. The 1.3 million was for improvements for the existing.
Okay,
Land.
thank you. Thank you.
This is to purchase 2 more lots. Michael's update for that is no updates other than it's in Jason's court to work up a purchase and sales agreement. But we've said it's our eligible project. Somebody refresh my brain. Do we have the application for it? I don't think we voted on it.
We don't have an application, no.
Okay, so we'll have to check, okay. I'll check that with Michael to remind him that we still need the application. Or Josh, if you can remind him too.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Okay, thanks. Another possible project, the town hall, aka the townhouse for roof repairs.
The update there is that the grant application has not been, nobody's been notified in terms of that grant application, so everything's kind of on hold. What I do know is that the project manager has requested the town manager to get an RFP out for the roof repair.
Okay, good. So it's possible it could still be coming to us for funding for that.
It's up in the air right now.
Right, depending on the grant.
Not for the roof, not for the roof.
Okay,
I think we already voted it eligible for money.
I think so. I'll look back and see.
Thank you.
Just jumping back made me think when Carlton was saying about the grant application. Jumping back to Stiles and Hart, that just for a second, for the improvements that was voted on last night by the council, it was for 1.3 million, but the town had put in a application for a grant from the Harry, what is it? The land. What's the whole place? But anyways, they put a grant in and it's a 50-50 match. And he said the application has been received and is being looked at. I took it as being favorable, but you never know what knows. So we're just hoping that it is approved, but he said it has been received and is being looked at. Okay, back to where we were. The Tool Park trails.
I don't have anything on that.
Okay, I don't either. Does anybody else have anything? Harry, have you heard for Concom?
No, I haven't heard anything on that.
Okay, thanks. Next from the Methodist Church for Historic Preservation. I haven't heard anything recently. Last I heard, they were still trying to get prices and put together what they need done. Like what's a priority to them. Let's see, from our administrative account, we had put in for the Jennings Hill Cemetery for their study. Kathy, you're still here, right? I think Kathy?
Yes, sorry.
Okay. Nope, that's okay. I'm jumping online between the agenda and the Zoom, so I thought I cut you off somewhere.
No. And actually I don't know what's happened to my Zoom. I had it on just blurred out and I saw myself finding the test, but it's coming up just my name. So sorry about that.
That's okay.
So you were notified that we provided approval for money to do that
No.
person to come in. You were not notified of that?
No, the last time we had a meeting with you, you had said you were going to try for that and vote on that, but we hadn't been notified as far as I know, unless Rich saw something. And he sends his apologies. He couldn't be here because He was at the hospital for some testing today, and then he has tomorrow too, so he's unable
Okay,
to.
now, I thought that you and Rich were both at the meeting that we voted it, not last
Well,
month.
there
the
was
month before.
talk that you thought so after, but I think there was some confusion
We
between some of
voted
the
60
emails.
we voted $6,500 to cover the cost of that individual to come out. And I believe that has to be obligated before the 1st of July, or else we have to revote it.
Well, that,
Okay, and, right, that was voted at the meeting that you and Rich were at a couple months ago.
yeah, Gina, we got a little confused because then we got an email. I can't remember which of you on the board it was from, but said that unless he could come out and do it before the end of June, I believe, then Rich was explaining to me, then it would have to be reapplied for. So we've just been between trying to take care of everything, at the Jennings and everything else.
Right,
We've been very
um,
kind of discouraged, so.
right, and I apologize for the confusion. And I think as Carlton just said, because our admin funds don't roll like our other funds do. We've since learned in the last couple of months that we needed to specify, especially specify at the end of the year, any votes we take towards the end of the year. For admin funds, that we need to specify what year we want them to come out of. So we may
I see.
just need to revote this, which wouldn't be a problem.
Okay, the other thing we were a little concerned about too is if he can't come out. We finally heard from him because he's been very busy this summer. He's trying to make up for work that he had promised before, and he's been traveling through 48 states until mid-July. He could promise once we have secured funds to come out after that. But there are also a couple new stipulations, and that's why I wanted to talk to you tonight also. He said that because his time in training people has been so filled right now, what he has started doing for the headstone survey and assessment is he asks us, whoever's calling him to come out and do this, to do a video assessment while he's speaking everything, because he doesn't have the staffing. Has all kinds of accolades. I told you, we've done our research. Even Jennifer Goldman, is that your old, Jennifer?
Gold
She's
too.
actually seen him at work too. So the thing is, we need to know if you'll accept that, if he will do a video and then we can get someone to transcribe it and then put down everything. Will you accept that as far as the headstone assessment? To have it on video and then,
I would say yes, because it's still an assessment.
Right.
Thoughts from other CPC people?
yes. And the thing is, I shouldn't say yes, but he's been, as I said, with Jennifer, knowing his work also, he's doing this all over the country. I mean, it's amazing what he does. So he needs to have those two things. He needs to approval that that's okay. We need that because we will then have to acquire some to come out and do the videos for the day while he's doing each stone's assessment. And hopefully I can get maybe someone from BSU or something to work on that with us.
My
And
bet
then,
is BTV. My bet there is BTV, and I could twist an arm or 5 would do that for us.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Bridgewater Television.
Oh, okay. That would be
Cable
awesome.
TV.
That would be awesome.
I run
Okay.
their cameras sometimes, so.
Right, I know the last thing, a town thing that I requested, I spoke to Jeff Fowler, who's the director of the Bridgewater TV channel. They are, like everything else we're talking about tonight, they're trying to help, they're strapped for workers to tape things. We
Okay.
can talk to them for this again. It might be more important than the other thing that I asked about, but
Okay.
we'll touch base with Jeff.
Okay. So I have two.
No,
Go ahead, Gina. I'm sorry.
no problem. If he's doing everything by video, was part of his price before travel costs? If it was, would that?
Yes. Yes, his price is including travel costs. He gets a hotel he has to bring a worker with him, come up in a van. They're coming from Connecticut, but they go all across the country. That's what he's doing right now because he has to bring his tools.
Okay, I was thinking if it's a video assessment, then he's not coming. Um, but he would
I'm
still.
gonna make a suggestion. We had voted the 6,500. It's only, there's less than a week left in the month.
Mhm.
I think probably what you should do is submit to us a bit more detail and a contract proposal, whatever, to us, and so we can use
Okay.
our admin money to get it done in August or thereabouts. That's my
Okay.
suggestion. I don't know what the rest of the committee feels, but I don't think we have enough time to get this in place.
Right, and he's the man his told Kathy that he couldn't do it until August.
Basically, yeah. He said he might have 1 or 2 days the end of July, but that won't work. You know, he'll be
Right.
exhausted, and with everything going on here, we've got other issues there too. So,
Right, and I'll look back, I think we had asked Rich for more specifications on something. I'll look back what we had asked him. But it was voted, we'll just have to
Okay.
re-vote it, and his accountant said just, you know, see if the price is the same, is there a added charge for this? I'm just thinking for the video assessment, is he,
no, that's included in what we gave you for the pricing. We also have to get stone and gravel depending upon what he'll need, but that's no problem. Paul and I have talked a little about that until we know more specifics of when and everything. The other
Yeah,
thing we want,
that would have to be a separate application. This is just an
right,
assessment that we funded.
right, for the
right,
assessment?
correct. I,
Kathy,
have you
putting
gone by,
on,
Gina? I'm sorry, have you
excuse me,
gone by lately?
I
Have you,
haven't, no,
Carlton?
I need to get down there one of these days.
Okay, well, we wanted to let you know that we had to work with Paul from DPW because of the fact we've been getting more and more vandalism. Stones have been, just before Memorial Day, stones were being pushed over. So we called the family of the, people that had passed away, and we called Paul, and he sent someone over, but the family also called the police. So the police came and just made an assessment. They blamed it on the DPW. But the DPW came and said, no, it wasn't us. And we could tell there was no markings on the stones. It was definitely vandalism because a couple of the things got damaged. So that's all under the thing. But we've also had people come up in there and drive over, and the prints are still over, things. So what we did was Rich and I invested about $200 of our own money, and we got a very heavy steel chain. We had Paul help us, and we put it around the granite stanchions at the gate, where the gate we hope to raise the money for will be. And we've got a DPW lock, which they have a key for, and we have a lock that's a combo lock, which we can give to you if any of you need it, to get in for anything. So DPW has the combo for that, and we can give it to you if anyone there on your committee needs it as well.
Okay, good, thank
And
you.
And the last thing, Gina, I do want to say to you, though, is we mentioned to you before a couple times in the meetings that we have been trying since last year to get Mr. Dutton to help us with the easements because there's more and more damage at the old fence. People are tearing it down, and we don't know why it would be anyone, but whatever's going on over there, they are starting to build another 1 or 2 houses there. And we've
Okay,
got
that's,
problems.
yeah,
We've got problems.
that's what I was just going to add, was
Mhm.
putting on my other hat, my Parks and Rec hat.
Okay.
I feel like I'm switching 2 hats tonight. Cemeteries are under the jurisdiction of Parks and
Parks and
Rec.
Rec, correct.
I know Rich had written to me recently and said that he actually forwarded me a copy of a thing he had thought he had sent to the town manager at one point, realized he hadn't resent it. I do that all the
Several
time.
points,
Don't go out.
yeah.
But anyways, it's not a CPC thing to deal with, but because it is the cemetery, it is encroaching on, the easement. I brought it up at our last Parks and Rec meeting.
Mhm.
And we're going to forward a letter, Rich's letter to the town manager from Parks and Recreation.
Thank you. We
Um,
appreciate that. Because it's
So
not just that
hopefully,
it's a cemetery, it's because it's an historic one, Gina.
you're right.
This goes back to 1766. And it's not just, it's both veterans back to the Rev War and all the other wars and our earliest settlers. Like we have 34, I think, or 35 of the Hayward family there. We have Mitchells, we have many, many people, Watermans, many of our earliest settlers.
I'm just gonna interrupt for a second. I don't know
Sure.
who has the feedback,
Yeah, I can hear it
but
too.
yeah, we're getting a lot of feedback from somebody.
It's
Okay,
gone.
it's gone. Whoever did, whatever, thank you. Okay, so you'll check with the person doing the things. We'll check with Bridgewater TV.
Thank you.
Yep, I know Jeff is also one of the ones in charge of our fireworks, and parade and everything, so he'll probably be swamped the next week or so, but we will be sure to touch base with him on it.
All I'm asking for is just some kind of written document that says, here's what we're going to do, here's how we're going to do it, a letter, and here's what the cost is, since it should be reduced. Thank you.
Mhm.
Are you, which subject there are you talking about, Carlton?
The gentleman who's going to come and train and do
Oh,
the
okay.
assessment. What I'm interested in is the assessment, because that drives what the application that you have in front of us would provide more detail for the application.
The assessment, not for the whole cemetery, but for the headstone reparation, correct? And
The
preservation.
assessment, whatever assessment he can give us.
Okay, all right.
Right, but it's not him, it doesn't include his actual training on how to
Yes.
clean the stones and all that,
Yes, he'll be there a full day.
Yes.
right? So that's
just,
all.
we just need that documented in some kind of writing rather
Okay.
than just through this meeting. Thank you.
Okay,
Right,
thank you.
okay, any other
And please let
discussion?
us know if you need the combo.
Okay, I personally don't, so
Right,
more
there's
than
space
I'd
to
have
walk in. There's
Yeah.
space to walk in.
Okay, good. Any other discussion on Jennings Hill? For Steve and Stacy, I should have done this at the start. Jennings Hill is a cemetery on the corner of Plain Street and High Street. As Kathy just said, Kathy's one of the ones in charge of the nonprofit for Friends at Jennings Hill.
Hi, Steve and Stacy.
Right, Stephen and
Hi, Kathy.
Stacy are our newest members. So they're looking to restore the stones, and one of the neighbors is encroaching on the distance between buildings and the cemetery property. So that's what that part of that discussion was. Okay, next we get there, annual public hearing. We had said that we'd hold off until probably the fall for that, and look into like possibly getting Jennifer Golson or someone else to run it too. And I think it should be in person, not a Zoom. We seem to get a lot better response with the in person, even though on our Zoom last year we did get good attendance. Anything to add for that? Anybody? Thoughts? And for the newer folks, and just a reminder for the others, the Mass General Law that created community preservation, the Community Preservation Act and Community Preservation Committees requires us to have a public hearing once a year. So that's what this is, our annual public hearing. Okay, discussion on that? Okay, hearing new business, administrative assistance role. Carlton, you had asked for that to be put on.
Yeah, I'd just like to hear from Josh. Congratulations, condolences. But I'd just like to know exactly what we should be expecting through you from our support for our support.
Yeah, so I think moving forward, you can, continue to filter discussion with Michael or Jennifer through me still. And just, if Gina or you have any questions, you can always send them and I can reach out to the finance department or the town manager's office to just communicate that. But otherwise, everything's as it was. I'll still be assisting the committee and helping when I can.
Good, thank you. Josh, one of the things Michael mentioned to me when I was telling him that problem I had with the big email being sent a couple weeks ago, he had said, "Oh, just give it to Josh. He can take care of it." Now, and I think he mentioned too at one point the award letters. It's the first ones we've actually written ourselves. Well, not quite the first, almost the first. We do have a template for it. I'll put this one together, but for the projects we just approved, but just to see how everything fits in. But after that, is that something that we could just give to you and you could fill in the template?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll make sure
Okay.
to document it and save it in the file and everything. So.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Just a quick point, Josh, as Gina mentioned earlier in the meeting, any communications between you and the town manager and Jennifer and any other departments needs to be copied to her. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, actually, it wasn't mentioned in the meeting. I had written to Michael on that, but good. Thank you, Carlton, for bringing that up. Okay. Next, we have our terms, members' terms. They seem to have, Josh, I wrote to you on that last week. They seem to be updated, myself included, and have members whose terms have been updated, have they been notified? No, I haven't. Do we need to be sworn in again? Or is it just because our terms have just been extended that we don't need to be sworn in again?
So you don't need to be sworn in. The updates that are on the website, I apologize, those went out a little bit earlier.
Okay.
So they were supposed to go out at the end of the month for the expiring members and those who were reappointed. So we do have we will have some vacancies at the end of the month, but yeah, I definitely apologize for the everything going out earlier than it should.
Mhm.
But everything should be correctly updated after June 30th. And I think, I don't know, I don't want to put Kevin on the spot here, but it might be a good opportunity for him to talk about his reappointment and accepting it or not for the 30th.
No, you can
Josh,
put
I
it.
need to interrupt you for a second.
Yep.
Everybody that gets reappointed must be sworn in again. I would ask you to check with the town clerk to verify my statement.
Okay, yeah, I will, I'll double check on that.
Okay, good, thanks. And don't feel bad about putting Kevin on the spot, because I was gonna put him on the spot.
Everyone puts me on the spot sometime, right? So I might as well just embrace it. I've learned to just embrace it anyways. But yeah, no, well, because I think, I was on the open space committee, of course, for a number of years before it was a fully quorumed committee. And so Eileen Heine and I were talking as well. And just, now that the open space is on a full quorum basis, I mean, just a couple of things. One, I'd like to give someone else a spot on the CPC, just in the interest of having fresh ideas and I don't want to be king of the hill for forever. So I like to give someone else the slot. And plus, I need to focus on more professional aspirations in my personal life as well. And it's been an absolute pleasure to be on the CPC. I've had so many great memories. I've learned a lot. And but I think it's time for me to just take a hiatus as far as the CPC and the Open Space Committee as well. And so I communicated that with Josh, and I try to be persuasive and with Eileen to take the CPC slot for the open space, but I'll leave it up to her if she wants to take that on.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Thank you for all your years of service and valuable input to community preservation and to open space. But it's much appreciated. And I'm sure the rest of the CPC members do. We wish you well in whatever you do.
Josh, or Kevin,
Thank you.
thank you so much. I remember back in the days when Master Plan Committee met and you came to those meetings as a lone representative of the Open Space Committee. So thank you for your service. Very much appreciated.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Good.
That means a lot. That means a lot. And it's always a team effort, and but it's been an absolute pleasure. It truly has been. And I've always, I investigated it. I went in with open eyes, and it's reaped its rewards for me. And I hope I've reciprocated that to the other members on this committee, and just as the community in itself of Bridgewater that I love so much. So it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been an honor. And who knows, maybe I'll join it again in the future. But I think it's a good time for me to step aside and have someone else to take the slot here on the CPC.
Okay, great. Thank you so much again.
Tina, could I add something? I
Sure.
just wanted to say that the Open Space Committee hasn't decided yet. Kevin did tell us that it would be, last week was his last Open Space Committee meeting. And so we discussed representation on this committee, on the CPC, and we will have a discussion about that probably next month. One thing I just want to check on is I assume is the process that the Open Space Committee chooses and that person then is on this committee, or does it have to go through some other channels? I mean,
You have to notify the town manager of your appointment. I would email him and CC Josh. And Josh has forms that he sends out, verifies that you've taken the affirmative action training and different trainings like that, conflict of interest trainings. And then you get sworn, we're notified, I'm notified, and Josh has this nice form letter that he sends out with steps you have to take, like to get sworn in for CPC and that.
And no
So
one,
there are steps.
any committee person, other than the ones that's at large, does not have to go before the town council for ratification. Only the at large, which I am, has to go before town council.
okay, all right.
Correct.
Yeah,
But Michael still approves it and sends everything on.
okay. All right.
Okay. And I just asked that, I know you and I spoke on it the other day, but I just asked that if you can appoint somebody sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Because we have to count that position in as when we're determining a quorum.
Yeah. And your
Okay,
next
thank
meeting
you.
is the 27th,
Okay,
July, right? Yep.
okay, thanks. Josh, one more question. You showed it, and I know it was you said that was premature on that list being on the website. But there's another vacancy that was shown for.
Yep. Yeah, Stephen Rogan.
Yep. Is that going to be a vacancy, do you know? Or was that just?
Yes. Yeah, Steve's actually reached out to me. I mean, I've continued to, he said he did not want to be considered for reappointment. So I've continued to email him on any of the CPC distributions, as well as this meeting, until June 30th is his expiration. That's when that was supposed to be updated. But yeah, he will be a vacant spot.
Okay, can any correspondence for that, for our membership, can you make sure I'm included on it? Please?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
hopefully-
it's been a process, just basically getting everybody that has expired, will be expiring. So I do apologize for
No,
not
no
getting that out.
problem. And
Um,
as I said,
Josh,
you
you know-
hey, God bless you, trying to keep track of all this.
Yeah, it's been about
I don't
50
do it
people.
all for you.
Josh, you do
Yeah.
know I expire in 7 days.
Okay.
Not
Well,
expire, but my
Your
my
term
term is
expires.
automatically reappointed.
yeah, and I mean the way that works is if you do expire, you're just automatically reappointed until I think it's for a year, I believe.
Is that a written
Um,
policy somewhere?
Yeah, I'll have to find it and just double check on it. But there
Yeah,
is
could you send it could you send it so we can add it to the policies and procedures document?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I mean, we've had several committee members that not the CPC per se, but committee members in general that they expired in 2021, and with the staffing issues, I mean, it just wasn't addressed. But there's a stipulation in the charter that allows for them to continue. If they expire and haven't been replaced.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you. I think we're almost done. Committee liaison reports. I'll start. I basically gave the packet of recs before about the pickleball courts. That's all we had. Steve, anything from the planning board?
Nope, nothing. Actually, a little quiet, which is kind of nice.
That's good. Yep, Harry, Concom. Harry,
Tomorrow night, we have a conservation meeting. There hasn't been much going on, but we're losing Marilyn McDonald, the chair, and I'm not gonna take over the chair of conservation. I've got other things in mind, so we're gonna be a
Mhm.
little short-handed up there.
okay, good. Well, not good that you're short-handed. Good, thank you for the update. I hate to see any committee short-handed. Okay. Who else do we have? Kevin, anything for open space?
Our last meeting, we were discussing the restaurant on the NIP, which I think everyone is aware of at this point. I think we're going over we're going over the tree ordinance to make that the tree ordinance was something that we wanted to implement within the town as far as new development is concerned, to have so many trees that are still existing, and so it's not just totally clear cutted. We wanted to form like an actual, I think it's an ad hoc committee at the moment for a tree ordinance ad hoc committee, which I support wholeheartedly. But that was what we talked about as well, and I think we sent that letter. I'm not sure if it was to the planning, but I think it was just to the town council, not the planning board, about how we didn't want the restaurant to go there, and then the big development behind the NIP as well. They wanted to expand that. So our main concern was just to get the tree ordinance implemented as far as that new development was concerned specifically.
Okay, good, thank you.
On that, I can add something to that.
Sure, go right ahead, Harry.
At our last Taunton River Stewardship Council meeting, this was brought up, and the Taunton River watershed is now part of the stewardship. We combined forces. We have an office down in Dayton. It's Sweet Snow State Park.
I walked there the other day.
Yeah, well, that's us.
That's
As a matter of fact,
unbelievable.
I have an office downstairs, but it was brought up at our river meeting, and the river meeting consists of the National Park Service, state people, all 12 towns that the Taunton River goes through, and various others. So about 3 days later, a letter came out from the Taunton River watershed. It's 4 pages long of all the things that they have to do to have that done. And I believe it's not going to be there. I
What's
didn't,
not gonna-
I didn't sign this document. I had the co-chair sign it because the co-chair happens to be a woman and she's our secretary and she's a Native American, so she has a little bit more power for signing on to this. Yep.
Clarify just a little bit more. It's a letter that's been sent from the
Taunton River Watershed,
and Stewardship Council and listing several conditions that must be met in
more than-
order for that thing to
more
be,
than several. It's 4 pages long.
okay.
And what is
But
it
I'm
setting
going to try
conditions
to finish
for?
here. It's 4 pages long and it has conditions that the developer must meet if they want to develop.
Correct.
Okay,
Thank you.
got it. Okay, thank you, Harry. Harry,
Mhm.
just an aside to that, I walked that the other day with my Monday morning walking group. And we walked across, a couple of our walkers, Jean Garino and another one had done some bird watching walk there a few weeks ago and liked it. We walked it and we actually walked across the train trestle, which was a little sketchy because the wood's getting rotted. But we did it. We wanted to go to the restaurant across the way. But it's a wonderful park. It was nice. So that's my little side for that. And I did go across. I was a little nervous there, but we made it across. Okay, I think that's
Gina, could I add something, please?
sure.
Just one thing I wanted to mention that that Karen didn't touch on was I just discovered recently that we actually have a new park steward that was hired, part-time. You know, this was a position that was approved prior to COVID, and then they couldn't get anybody to apply, and then they finally got someone to apply, and then of course, I understood that it had been taken out of the budget. I thought Steve Sobel had told me that some time ago, but then I just found out this last week that in fact we have a park steward, and Brooke Condon contacted me to find out what I knew about volunteers for each one of the parks, because they were getting information together for his name, I believe, is well, never mind, I'm gonna get it wrong, so just
Which
know that,
park?
pardon me?
It's for all the parks.
For which
so-
park?
For all the
All of
parks,
them.
for the park lands, you know, I mean,
Parkland
well,
steward.
actually, the other thing I understand is that well, and Gina, you must know this, I mean, that the jurisdiction between community and economic development and Parks and Rec right now is all under review, because there is a new Parks and Rec director, and there is the park steward, and so based on my conversation with Steve Sobel, it sounds like they're trying to figure out who exactly is going to be working on what, and whether any of the review of the 6 town parklands or any of the overseeing of that will be part of Parks and Recreation now, or you know, it has lied in community economic development, although not a lot has been done over the years, but anyway.
Mhm. I was made aware of the new park steward, but I wasn't made aware from the town. I was made aware of it from a friend who does a lot like cleaning up Stiles and Hart on
Mhm.
Broad Street. And she had mentioned it, that we had a new park steward, and I think he was going to walk it with them. Some of which, by the way, they finished some of the bridges going through with a lot of volunteer work. It's interesting that you say, excuse me, it's being worked on with Parks and Rec, and it might be without a new superintendent. At one point, when I questioned at a meeting with the town manager for that Parks and Rec had with him, and I questioned that, you know, Parks Recreation was turned into Parks and Recreation. However, we're never given any directive on what that should include. I was told that the parklands are not under Parks and Rec, which really didn't make sense to me, that it was under conservation. I asked Harry and he said it wasn't under conservation. So I went, at another point, I mentioned it to the town that I'd really like clarification. Is it under us or conservation? When we got, I didn't get a clear answer. I didn't get any answer. At least that I recall. But I did notice that in the Styles and Howard improvement application, it said referenced under the jurisdiction of Parks and Recreation as it's a parkland. So that whole concept is interesting there.
Yeah, it sounds like it's very confused, because that's contrary to what I understood, that the parklands were always under Conservation Commission jurisdiction, and in fact, I think they hold the deed to the Wyman Meadow one, the Wyman Meadow property, so.
Sounds like a task for our committee, board, commission coordinator, right, Josh?
Yeah,
Yep.
that was close enough for my title, but yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I just think somebody needs to step in and try to coordinate what this appears to be some very misunderstood or miscommunications. There's something going on that maybe you can help us with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here for.
My understanding
I'll
from
check
Steve
too
is, yes,
to
that's
see if,
absolutely the case. Everything is just open for review right now, that the discussions were ongoing. So,
Yeah, but nobody knows that except a few people.
right.
right, and I'll check with the Parks and Rec superintendent too. He might be involved in meetings and not had a chance to update the commission yet. Okay, thank you. And okay, no upcoming events. Public comment. Okay, hearing none. Our next meeting is July 27th at 6:30. Do we want to meet in person? As far as I know, and Josh can correct me if I'm wrong, the last update I've heard on the Zoom meetings ends June 30th. Has that been extended, Josh, or?
It was extended for another month.
Okay, so we'll have to meet via Zoom.
Oh,
Okay,
extended.
yeah, and Kevin, again, thank you for your service with us, and
Oh,
you've, as Colin said, I remember you coming to meetings as the Open Space Committee. You were in. So thank you for that, and thank you for all your input for CPC. One thing I learned tonight is I definitely say too much. So if nobody has
Motion to
anything,
adjourn.
No,
Yep.
that's gotta be Kevin's motion.
You're right.
yeah, that's right, Kevin. You're
I
on.
withdraw my motion.
Kevin,
All right,
we'll
drum.
put you on the spot again.
All right, drum roll, please. Motion to adjourn.
Second. Thank you, Kevin.
Okay,
Yeah,
any
thanks, Harry.
discussion? Okay, hearing none.
That's good.
Josh, roll call, please.
Gina,
Yes.
Carlton,
Yes.
Harry,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Stacy.
She's
I
not
think
there.
we lost Stacy a few
Yep.
minutes ago.
And Kevin.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved. The meeting is adjourned.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Have a good
Thank you.
night.
All
Bye.
right. Take care, everyone.